Henry struggles to learn Hector's footwork. Hector asks him what he will do after he defeats Burn. Henry says that he will master Aura, but Hector just laughs at him. He wants to become a magic knight once he masters Aura. Hector thinks about it, and notes that Henry has the potential to become the greatest magic knight. They spend more time training. Eventually, Henry defeats Burn. Having mastered Hector and Burn's sword skills, he thinks that it's time to leave the manor. Burn tells him that he's a genius for coming up with his own style of swordsmanship. He asks about Henry's plan, and Henry tells him that he's going to join the army. He asks Burn about the noblesse oblige, which is the duty of noblemen to share their blessings to serve society. Burn tells him that his family isn't subject to such duty since his father's rank is not high enough, but Henry still wants to do it to earn the respect of the people. He tells Burn that he's going to the Forest of Evil, which is a very dangerous place. Burn is against it, saying that his father would never allow him to go there, but Henry tells him that he already has his father's permission since he won against Burn. Later, Burn goes to Hans and asks him if he gave Henry permission to go to the Forest of Evil. Hans tells him that Henry can only go there after he defeats Burn. Suddenly, Henry arrives saying that he has already fulfilled that condition. Burn confirms it, and Hans gets upset. Henry tells his father to give him a chance to prove himself. He is aware of the dangers that lurk in the Forest of Evil. It is one of the most dangerous areas in the Empire where devils have appeared. Hans doesn't want him to go there because Henry is his heir, but Henry has already made up his mind. He bids his father farewell. That evening, Hans approaches Henry while he's training. He tells his son that he has really grown up, so he allows Henry to go to the Forest of Evil. Hans gives his son a letter of recommendation telling him to give it to a commanding officer named Iselin. The next day, Henry leaves with his horse. He bids everyone farewell, and he uses his magic to make traveling easier. A week later, the guards of Fort Caliban see him approaching. The head of the guards, Hervant, asks him to identify himself, so he throws the family crest at his direction. Hervant sees the family crest, and he orders the guards to open the gate. Henry enters, and Hervant apologizes for being rude. Henry introduces himself, telling them that he is going to join the army. He shows them the letter of recommendation, and a guard escorts him to Commander Iselin. The commander greets him, asking him if he is the son of Baron Hans. Henry confirms it, and they have a discussion. Iselin tells him that he is an interesting person since not a lot of people want to stay in that fort. He asks Henry why he wants to stay there. Henry tells him that he wants to learn by fighting the monsters. Iselin laughs and tells him to get into position. Suddenly, the commander grabs onto his sword and attacks Henry. Henry pulls out his sword and uses defensive magic. He is barely able to block the attack. Iselin comments that he wasn't expecting Henry to block. After that, the commander swings his sword at Henry, but he blocks it once again. Iselin is surprised and he wants to try again. At that moment, a girl named Teeny arrives, telling him to stop. Iselin states that Henry is the real deal, and Teeny thinks that Henry could be a monster. The commander asks Henry why he let his brother go to the academy. He replies that he couldn't see any hope because he thinks that the Empire is corrupt. Iselin states that it's very bold of him to say something like that, but Henry says that he is loyal to the Empire, not the people. Iselin laughs as he agrees with Henry. He tells Henry that it was a good idea to give up the academy because it has a tight hold on Porum's family. Iselin reveals that Behald, the person who beheaded him, has retired, so Kington Porum has taken over and corrupted the academy. Henry gets informed that there is another test. They take him to a secret room where he sees a monster. Iselin tells him that he needs to knock the monster down for him to be acknowledged. He accepts the challenge and prepares for battle. Henry approaches the monster, and he steps on a barrier. The monster suddenly lunges at him, and he barely dodges its attack. Henry charges at the monster, slashing its neck, but it has no effect on the creature. It tries to hit his head, but he dodges the blow. After that, he uses the circle step to attack the creature from behind. He hits the horns behind the creature, and it gets knocked down. Iselin asks Henry how he discovered the creature's weakness. He said that it was just feeling. Since its skin was hard, he thought that maybe the horn was its weakness. Iselin tells him to prepare for basic training in the education corps. Teeny states that the training is already taking place, but Iselin thinks it's perfect. Henry will join in the middle of the class as a privilege for passing the test. After that, Henry eats and drinks with Iselin. The commander starts telling him about his story, and he finds Iselin annoying, so he casts sleep magic on him. However, it doesn't work, so he spent the entire night listening to the commander's tales. The next morning we see Henry in a carriage with Teeny. She gives Henry some papers containing information about the basics of his training. He glances at it for a while and returns it, telling her that he has already memorized it. Teeny thinks he's a genius. Eventually, they arrive at the education corps. There, he meets his officer, who tells him that he is just an apprentice, so he can only talk informally to other apprentices. His officer tells him about the upcoming test. Henry wants to take it even though he didn't attend the previous sessions. The officer gets offended, asking him if he thinks the test is a joke. But he tells his officer that Commander Iselin personally trained him, so he lets him take the test. The officer warns him that he will receive a punishment if he fails the test. Henry thanks his officer. However, the officer thinks he's arrogant, and he wants him to fail. He prepares a special test for Henry. On the day of the test, Henry finishes early. The officer immediately checks his answers and discovers that Henry has a perfect score. He congratulates Henry and tells him about the martial arts class in the afternoon. As he leaves, the officer thinks about how difficult his special test was. This makes Henry famous in the education corps. Later, Henry introduces himself to the class. They are about to have close combat sparring. The instructor tells Henry to know his limits because it is still his first day. He immediately gives them a test where the cadets need to knock each other out. The test ends when only one cadet is left standing. In the first match, he goes up against Cadet Need. Henry assumes a weird fighting stance, and Cadet Need thinks he doesn't know how to fight. He charges at Henry, who immediately knocks him out. The cadets are surprised because Need is one of the best cadets when it comes to combat. The test goes on and Henry easily knocks out many of the top cadets. He thinks about his training with Hector and how it is helping him win. The top cadet Ronan now stands against him. Henry moves behind him and Ronan immediately reacts with a kick. He manages to block it, thinking that he underestimated Ronan. Ronan charges at him with a unique footwork. They exchange blows and block each other's attacks. But Ronan eventually lands a hit on his head, causing him to get dizzy. He immediately follows up with a takedown. Ronan is about to punch him while he is lying on the ground. Thinking he's about to lose, he uses magic on Ronan, making him lighter. After that, he grabs Ronan's leg and throws him to the wall. Everyone gets surprised as Ronan lies on the floor. He wins the match and ends up getting a perfect score for all of the tests that followed. Later, he sees Ronan, who is obviously upset. He shakes hands with Ronan, who introduces himself as Ronan Porum. Henry gets surprised. Ronan tells him that he was adopted into the Porum family. It is revealed that Kington Porum actually defeated Behald, making him Night King and Grandmaster. Because of the system of noblesse oblige, he had to send someone from his family to serve in the military, and he was adopted for that reason. Ronan asks Henry about his training since he has never seen such skill in close combat. Suddenly, Henry tells him that they should be friends. Ronan finds him weird, but this actually makes him happy. They become sparring partners and Ronan always loses to Henry. Still, they become good friends. Eventually, the training ends and they are about to attend a celebration. At that moment, an officer approaches Henry, telling him that Commander Iselin is looking for him. He rides a carriage with Teeny. She tells him that Iselin wants to have a separate celebration with him because he finished at the top of his class. Teeny adds that the commander will grant one wish for him. Later, they arrive at their destination and Teeny tells him that she can call her in the evening if he needs company. Henry gets confused, but she just leaves without any explanation. He goes to Iselin, who has prepared food for him. While they are eating, Iselin asks him about his wish. The next day, Henry tells Ronan that he had a celebration with the commander. Ronan tells him about a rumor that the commander favors him. But he replies that it was just a tradition for the top of the class. Ronan asks him if something else happened while he was with the commander. Henry shows him a holy sword that he received as a present from Iselin. Ronan gets jealous. After that, Ronan tells him that he has been assigned to the infantry unit. He already has a plan for climbing the ranks. Ronan asks him about his unit, and Henry tells him that he has been assigned to an independent company known as Caliburn's Needle. It is revealed that after Iselin passed out from drinking too much, Henry met up with Teeny. Henry told her that he wants to join a company where he wouldn't get disturbed much. She pointed to a chart and explained that he should join the Special Forces. Teeny warned Henry that Special Forces are dangerous, but he doesn't mind. So she directed him to the commander's affiliate Special Forces, and told him that he can start right away. Back in the present, Ronan boards a carriage. Before they part ways, Henry tells him not to die and Ronan tells Henry to be careful. The carriage leaves and someone calls out to him telling him to board the carriage. He arrives at the Caliburn's Needle military camp. Commander Salomon checks his documents, and he says that they are not ready to accept him. He takes Henry to his official residence. It is a total mess. Salomon tells him that he should finish cleaning it up by the end of the day, and then he leaves. Henry thinks it's impossible for a normal human to finish it in a day. So he uses his magic to instantly clean the place. Outside, we see Salomon with some soldiers. He tells everyone to meet their new lieutenant, Henry, in his residence. They laugh thinking that Henry's place is still a mess. But when they arrive at Henry's residence, they are surprised to see that it is already very clean. Henry is having a cup of coffee, and he casually asks them what they're doing there. Salomon tells him to greet the members of the unit. He goes out and formally introduces himself as the new lieutenant. Henry observes that the unit is not yet ready to accept him since the late Lieutenant Carter died on a mission. He approaches a soldier named Hoden and asks him where Lieutenant Carter used to stay. Hoden takes him there, and he looks around thinking the soldiers might rebel against him. So he leaves the place carrying a box that seems to contain Carter's belongings. He orders them not to move as he burns the box. The soldiers get shocked and one of them gets angry. He steps forward and attacks Henry. But he misses and Henry kicks him away. The man falls to his knees. After that, he reprimands everyone in the unit telling them that they should be ashamed because their actions won't make Lieutenant Carter happy. The commander hears about this and he gets furious. Thinking that Henry will grab power, he calls on 2 other officers named Hugo and Vogue to come up with a plan. The following day, Henry meets up with the 3 of them. Hugo tells him that he hasn't learned aura yet, so he has no right to be the new officer. He adds that Henry is arrogant. Henry asks him if he's scared of him. Hugo gets furious and he challenges Henry. They have a duel and everyone in the unit watches them. Salomon is confident that Hugo will win. But Henry doesn't plan to go easy on Hugo. The match begins and Henry strikes at Hugo's sword, causing it to break. Everyone gets surprised. Henry bows at Hugo, telling him he has done a great job, then he leaves. Later, we see Henry with the commander, and he is given a mission. He looks at it, and he is surprised to see that the task is to patrol a Class 9 area. The next day, he goes to Iselin and tells him about his mission. He complains about how easy the mission is since he has already proven his skills by defeating Hugo. Iselin gets shocked because Hugo can use aura, so he asks Henry what he wants to do for his mission. Henry replies that he wants to go to the Class 6 district. Deep down, he just wants to use it as an excuse to look for his hidden treasures there. But he lies to the commander, telling him that he has never been there, so he would like to see it. The commander allows it, but he tells Henry that when he returns he would give him the mission that he really wants. Henry receives Lieutenant Carter's paperwork. He learns about the mission that led to Lieutenant Carter's death. In that mission, Carter went after a creature called Black. The commander thinks that it is a demon that enjoys playing games. Henry asks Iselin why Carter went after Black. Iselin explains that Black murdered Carter's men back when he was a company commander in the infantry division. After his men died, Carter applied to the special forces wanting to avenge his men. Iselin sent him on that mission so that he could get his revenge. The commander adds that Carter was the best candidate from the unit, but his foolishness led to his death. Black is now a threat to Fort Caliban, and it needs to be stopped. Henry goes through the paperwork and he learns that Black can transform and speak to humans. Later, we see Henry back in his unit. He tells the deputy commander that the previous mission is cancelled and he will be patrolling the Class 6 district instead. Henry adds that he is going to go after Black. Before the deputy commander leaves, he gives him the box containing Lieutenant Carter's belongings. Henry tells him that he would never burn it so they can take care of it. The deputy commander thanks him and apologizes. After that, the deputy commander leaves. Henry assembles with 9 others and they leave the fort to patrol the Class 6 district. He uses a spell that makes his group less conspicuous to the monsters. This allows them to arrive at the Class 6 district safety zone without encountering any resistance. Once there, Henry tells his men that they are going to get a lead on Black. He shows them a drawing of a kin mushroom, telling them that they grow near Black's home. Henry divides them into 2 groups with the deputy commander as the leader of the second group. Before splitting up, he gives the deputy commander an item that will allow him to track his location. It is revealed that he is just using black as an excuse and the kin mushroom will show him his hidden treasure's location. However, after hours of searching, they couldn't find anything. The soldiers start to have mixed feelings about their lieutenant. That evening, Henry summons Hector. He tells Hector that he can't train until he finds Black. Hector calls him stupid, suggesting that he should just summon Carter to ask him about Black. So Henry puts Carter's report in the summoning circle and starts chanting. But that's where this video ends. Remember to like and subscribe if you want to see a part 3 of this recap. Let us know in the comments section below. Till next time.